Hello and welcome to the Professional Media Presence podcast series. In this episode, Diana Yashekova from Youth for Equality is joined by Harutyun Tsatryan, an Armenian journalist and communications expert living in Slovakia. Together, they delve into the topic of social media campaigns and the challenges faced by artists in the digital era.
Hello everybody, my name is Diana and I'm representing Youth for Equality NGO that is a part of the PMP project. Together I'm here with Hari and we are doing a podcast on social media and media readership. Can you, Hari, tell us a bit about yourself and your background in the arts and media?
Hi Diana, thanks for having me at this podcast. As you said, my name is Harutyun Tsatryan. This is my full name. I am Armenian ethnic who lives in Slovakia. And regarding to my background in arts and media, I studied journalism and then later I went with political science and communications. Currently, I am more engaged with media when it comes to what I do. Mostly, I do training courses for young journalists and trying to help them to understand the modern landscape of media in Europe, and mostly when it comes to topics like fact checking, media literacy, media readership. These are kind of my topics.
So, can you tell me what inspired you to suggest the topic of social media campaigns and challenges for the artists?
Yeah, sure. As you remember, there was a workshop week in Trnava, and there was a nice opportunity to meet with the artists. And we talked about media readership, and we have noticed that many of the artists are not well aware of all those things, especially when it comes to social media campaigns and challenges that all those artists are facing.
So, how do you think social media has changed the way artists reach their audience?
I would say drastically. If you remember, it was like 12, 14 years ago when people started actively using social media. And this changed a lot, especially when it comes to the artist and how important it became to show also on social media what the life of an artist is. And many artists start also using social media to promote their work. Why not? They use the social media to reach to their potential buyers, people who admire their art. And I would say that all those changes happened within so short time that it's kind of a bit hard to evaluate everything in a way as a research or study. We still go with the flow somehow because every day I would say something is changing, and all those things are changing the ways that artists currently reach out to their audiences. And I will bring an example. A couple of years ago, in 2020, when there was a pandemic, everyone was locked at home, especially the artists. They could manage to produce maybe a lot of works, and they started to sharing this on social media, different ones, and many of them became quite popular. I have on my list some artists who I started following just because of those lockdowns, because they were targeting the topic of coronavirus, and they were sharing pieces of their art, and yeah, that made me to be their follower, for example. And all those changes are happening so fast, and I would say like drastic changes happen.
You previously mentioned that you participate in the PMP workshop week in Trnava, and that there were some topics that were maybe still not discussed with the participants. And I would like to ask you, maybe some of these topics can be a social media platform. If there are any specific platforms that you think are more artist friendly, and why do you think so?
Yeah, I do remember that we discussed those platforms which are quite active for the artist to bring engagement from their audience, and also organize those platforms kind of selling of their pieces of arts. I would like to mention like all those already classics, I would say, which is an Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, why not? But especially for the artist, I would like to mention Pinterest. This is for the digital creators who use platforms to create something digital. And I would say all those platforms which I have mentioned, including also a streaming platform like YouTube, can increase the audience of the artist, but also this can help them to promote themselves as musician, filmmaker, or educator. For example, they can live stream their materials for YouTube, and this is quite, I would say, long format of platform, and it is very, very perfect if an artist decides to come up with an idea to make a tutorials or show their performances for the other people. Why not vlogging? Nowadays, many people are scrolling reels on Instagram or they go to TikTok for short videos, but YouTube is still one of amazing platforms that artists can use. Uh, okay, I would like to mention also Facebook. We do see that many young people are not anymore on this platform, but still, especially the ones regarding to the artists who want to reach a bigger audience, they try to have official page on Facebook. Why not? They also go to LinkedIn. Of course, those are like LinkedIn is a professional platform, but it also makes like art educators or professional artists who are seeking some partnerships to use those platforms. And some of them have been explained during the workshop how they can use, but I would like to mention that all those things, platforms which I have mentioned, are quite user friendly. They are exactly artist friendly. I would like to mention different type of arts, people, professional artists can use them to promote their films, music, uh, visual content which they create, and this kind of amazing to have those platforms. And they are some specific platforms, but I am not sure that in all countries those are working. For example, I am not sure that Reddit, which is a platform very used in the States, is that much popular in Europe. So that's the reason I will go with all those things which I have mentioned. But if you are an artist who is based or who is working for a specific uh, geographical location, it's always good to see what are popular on this continent. For sure, if you want to reach out to China, you need to use a TikTok, right? Because there is no platform like Facebook or YouTube available in China. So this is also important for artists to know if they are using social media platforms.
Yeah, that sounds like a nice homework for our audience, for the artists. And I would like to ask you if you can share some examples of successful social media campaigns or challenges by artists that inspired you personally.
I will share some of them because I do really like all those social media campaigns or some challenges. The one which is very, very popular when it comes to art, it's a museum selfie. It's hashtag museum selfie. This is a campaign which started a couple of years ago. It started in London by one blogger with name Mar Dixon. I'm not sure that it is that much popular name in the world, but what happened later, now we have every year a day which people are using this hashtag museum selfie and they are sharing their selfies on different social media platforms in front of or inside museums. This is really amazing. You can't even believe, but there are dates dedicated to these kind of campaigns. For example, the campaign for the next year will be on the 15th of January next year in 2025. And the one which happened this year, it was on 17th of January. So this is something which is announced. Some people are really waiting for this. It has great impact because this is a campaign which has started from one small, let me say, person who was not that popular, just a blogger, of course, in a big city in London, but then it went viral. And nowadays, in Armenia, in Slovakia, in Italy, people are going to the museum, taking a selfie using a hashtag, and then they, through this, also make popular the museums, the galleries. So this is really engaging. And I would like to mention also the factor that these target younger audience because they are using platforms like TikTok or Instagram, Snapchat as well. And this is really nice. And I would really recommend artists to join this campaign next year, just in the beginning of January. Another one which I would like to share with you is something which I was following quite long because it happened during the pandemic time. 4 years ago, when it was pandemic, people are at home. The Getty Museum started a challenge, the Getty Challenge, and this challenge encourages participants to use their favorite works of art as an inspiration to create their own versions. This is a really good one because you join to a campaign where the main thing is a piece of art which you create in the model of already existing one. Like I have seen so many people creating Mona Lisa. Of course, we know that it is something hard to copy. There are so many copies of that, but still people go to Paris, Louvre, to see the piece of art there. However, this is a really nice challenge, the Getty Challenge, which I would like to mention as a challenge on social media, and it brought so many people to join this. And one last thing which I would like to mention, this is um, a bit geographically focused on one country, and it happened 10 years ago. This is not something which happened like a couple of years ago. No, it was 10 years ago. It was Art Everywhere UK. This again started on social media, on Facebook. There is a big page with thousands of followers. And this was a nice collaboration between UK artists and museums. And those kind of social media challenges and campaigns can help also the other artists to start their own. These campaigns can inspire them to start their own campaigns, and why not? To establish a nice collaboration between different groups of people, different audiences, different countries, and different artists.
Yeah, that actually leads us to the question if you can recommend maybe some key elements, or if you can mention some key elements that make a social media campaign contagious or engaging.
Oh, yes. There are so many. There are really so many things that can make social media campaign contagious. First of all, it should be through interactive challenge. So people should do something, take a selfie, make a hashtag. So it should engage the audience. This is very important. Otherwise, it would be hard. Then I would recommend to bring some awareness, because if the challenge, if the campaign is not raising awareness, then it soon or later will die. So I will go to this raising awareness. Also, this is very important. Bonding people and art. So this is very important when we are creating some connections between people and art. Doesn't matter what type of art is. It could be in a museum or it could be in a theater as a performance. It's really important to make this connection. And I will also go with making it a bit viral and boosting creativity. Why? Because if we go with inviting public to participate and co-create through our social campaign, this will make those people feel that they are also somehow the corner of this campaign. So they will be more engaged and it can bring really good results.
If an artist want to start a campaign or challenge, could you recommend some first steps he could take?
Uh, I have met the artists in Ternava and I noticed that some of them are shy to be in front of camera, especially the ones who are digital creators. So they have some fears and they want to stay behind. And this is the first step. You should break the ice and you should go out of your comfort zone. This is really the first step if you would like to be a famous person on social media or start your own campaign on social media. Because many people, many artists are fine with the position as they have, but they also want to be famous. And the balance between these is to break the ice. And for that, you need to forget about the fear that you as an artist can have. And when you already have this, breakout, then you can go with any idea which will come to your mind as an artist. There are no bad ideas. All those ideas can be implemented good or bad, but you first need to implement to see how it works. So my suggestion is just break the ice, go out of your comfort zone, and try to create something which was not kind of very familiar to you before, but you have seen so many from the other people. Just start creating.
And are there any other common mistakes that artists used to do on social media, and maybe how they can avoid them?
There are some mistakes which I have noticed, and we discussed when being in Ternava at the workshop that some of the artists try to keep the content as short as possible or to keep the content only focused on their artistic style or on their personality. The audience would love to understand the artist not only based on their artistic style, but also as a person and the vice versa. So not only personality, but also the artistic side. So it should be a nice mixture. And if you are somehow failing to keep this balance, and this balance is coming only through the experience, it can't be there and you can use a handbook, read and go and say, oh, now I have everything in my mind and I learned everything. I have the theory. Now I'm going into practice. No, all those things are a practice of learning and doing and learning. So this is a nice circle, and the artist should notice that they are learning based on their mistakes. And the mistake can be done if there is some action. So this is what I would suggest, not to focus only on one side of an artist as a style of art, but also keep the personality. And not only keep the personality, if you would like to mention that, but also go with the broader, with the style as well.
You mentioned personality, and I would like to ask you maybe about the authenticity, that how can artists maintain authenticity while trying to appeal to a broader audience online?
This is a really good question. Why? Because many artists, when they are trying to be on social media, they are thinking that, okay, I'm not that person, but if I'm going to fake, maybe I will get a success. But no, please, if you want as an artist to maintain authenticity by yourself, that means you just need to stay true to your own core values, to your artistic style. And of course, your voice matters. So you need to keep your unique voice when you are sharing anything, any content, or if you are even behind the scene of the content, you are just creating and posting. This is really important because engaging genuinely with the audience keeps the artist to be different from the others. No need to fake. There is this saying, fake it until you make it. I don't agree with this because when you are faking, you will go with this fake profile and mask to your audience. And one day it will come on the surface. And then, unfortunately, this will be really bad day for you. So once again, it's important to stay true to your core values as an artist and also keep the artistic style.
In the workshop week, we were talking a lot about the misinformation, disinformation, manipulation, and I think it was a really interesting topic. And that's why I would like to ask you, what are the risks associated with visual misinformation? For example, manipulated images in artistic campaigns, and how can they be mitigated?
Uh, There are several risks regarding to this visual misinformation. It's good or bad, I'm not the one to judge, but the modern technologies, also many AI platforms, help you to manipulate the images. And if the artists are going to use those platforms for their artistic campaigns, at some point they can lose the credibility uh, of the audience. And the audience will think that, okay, this is a visual artist, but this person is creating everything through an AI, for example. Here, there is a really high chance risk that the artist can lose the audience, but also how the artist can somehow mitigate the situation. As we also know that many people are using AI tools, especially when it comes to the visualization, to make the speech uh, in a video way or to make from a text to a cartoon or many other things. My suggestion is always be always be honest to your audience. If you are using an AI, it would be nice to have a small notion that this visual was created through an AI. And this is not bad. Nowadays, many people are using AI. AI is popular also at schools and universities. There are policies changing at those institutions. So it's good to have this honesty towards the audience and share about this. And in this way, you will mitigate the risks. Also, it's somehow important that the artists are also, even if they are using those AI technologies, are also creating something in a way. It is their own. It is not only the content that AI generated, it is not only visual misinformation, but it is something which they had there some creativity. It's not everything based on AI. This is another thing that can lower all those risks.
Thank you. That sounds really interesting. And maybe I would like to ask you, how should artists handle situations where trolls or adversaries spread false information about their campaigns?
Oh, this depends on the countries and the artistic charisma, I would say. If an artist is from Italy or the southern part of Europe or from the Balkans, of course, all those trolls who would come to their platforms and they will comment. I do see that those artists are reacting passionately and even going with those trolls in an argument. This is something that an artist should try to avoid because uh, if you don't know who is a person or who pretends to be a person, uh, better not to react to those things. If you see that they are coming with specific hashtags, if they are promoting something under your social media platform, thanks God, all those social media platforms gives you an opportunity to delete a comment. So it's good not to reply, but also delete as well. And if you see that those things are coming with some pieces of misinformation, it's also important to share or voice about the situation on your social media platform as an artist, saying that the followers or people who kind of subscribe to this artist, you should know that they are some trolls and there is a spread of false information under this campaign. So this is also important. Following how things are going and react if needed. Because if there is no reaction needed, it's better not to react. As I said, maybe a passionate artist from the Balkans would like to react to a troll comment who is saying something that the piece of art is stolen from someone else. First, please check to see maybe there is an artist who is creating in the same way. I still remember when we were having this workshop week in Ternava, there were cases when we were discussing with the artist situations, and at some point it came out that they are artists living in different continents, but they have almost the same idea and the same way, style to create a piece of art. So this is also important to know. And yeah, I think those are the ways how to handle the situations.
If an artist's social media campaign inadvertently shares incorrect information, what's the best way to address it?
The best way in this war is always to say, sorry, there was a mistake. This is the best way. And it's important to have this to any of persons, artists, just regular people, to have encouraged to say sorry. If it happened that shared information somehow became incorrect, saying sorry is also important to keep the audience be aware that you as an artist is in a process to learn. And as we were discussing previously, uh, mistakes can happen, and this is also important to share with the audience. And these kind of mistakes are because of that there is something action, there is something happening, and through this process, mistakes can happen. And I would encourage any artist to say sorry if a mistake is happened and incorrect information is shared. And this is, in my opinion, the best way to address the situation. To try to avoid, to try to go somewhere and not to react that will bring other consequences, like, a domino effect. So better if you react, better if you react in a way, if you understand that it was incorrect piece of information, that sorry, the audience, the followers, the subscribers, a piece of information which I have shared became incorrect. I'm sorry for that. And it's also important to have some skills how to do some basic fact checks on pieces of information which an artist is sharing. And that was really good when in Dornava during the workshop week we could have some sessions on this, some basics, how to use modern tools to mitigate the situation and somehow do small fact checks. Even for artists, it's really important.
Thank you. And maybe I can add that previously we mentioned authenticity, and I really believe that admitting that we maybe shared incorrect information is also part of that, of our authentic expression. So it's really important to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to ask you that how has the shift to the digital media changed the way audiences consume art and culture?
Oh, you may remember when you are watching a TV series or films, and those films are from late 19s, 18s, even early 2000s. People are going to museum to enjoy it, to be themselves, to kind of walk around the museum, or not only museum, but to the theaters. Nowadays, people are going there to be part of culture, and they are sharing on social media that they are at that place. Yeah. Previously, there were no social media. The digital landscape of media was not as broad as it is now, but all those changes made the actions, the behaviors of people to be changed. And as I mentioned, people are going now to the museums to share with their other friends that they are at this or that museum, or if they are following some pieces of arts from specific artists, they would like to share about this. And yeah, this is a global change, and I would like the artists to know about that. And if we can make their arts in a way that people would like to share, uh, that can make them be more popular even when they could be if there was no this kind of improvements or developments in the digital space, digital media.
So, do you think that the current media landscape is helping or hindering emerging artists?
I would like to say that especially the current media landscape offers both opportunities and challenges. Of course, every day we can see all those nice opportunities and many challenges as well. On one hand, these uh, improvements in media landscape provide accessible platforms to showcase talent, build global audiences without any gatekeepers. Yeah, an artist living in Armenia can be popular outside of Armenia because many people can become their followers, this artist follower, and an artist in Slovakia can be very, very popular in the States. Previously, it was very hard. You would need so much money to make a promotion, to make all those banners, advertisements, to go to traditional media. Nowadays, there are so many opportunities to become famous through social media. Current media landscape helps you. But on the other hand, they are those algorithm driven attention economy, which can favor trends over originality, for example, yeah, making it harder for some unique voices to break through without significant effort or resources. This is the challenge side. And an artist, if comes to the current media landscape, better to know about this.
In this podcast, we are trying to make as practical content as possible. Therefore, allow me to ask you for some practical tips. What tools or resources would you recommend for artists looking to enhance their social media presence?
Especially when artists are using those platforms where you need to create something visual, I would go with the ones which are like already classics and many people are using. Also, I would like to mention the platforms which gives artists an opportunity to use the tool without paying for it. So I would like to mention, for example, Canva. Of course, there is a premium version of this platform, but still with the free version, you can create so many nice materials to share on social media. I would like to also mention about Adobe Spark. This is a nice platform, and this can help to enhance social media presence of an artist. Why not? It's also important to mention some analytical tools because it's not only about creating, it's also about to see how those things are working. So Instagram, Facebook, or Google itself, they provide some statistics like Facebook Analytics, Google Analytics, provide the insights that can help an artist to understand the audience, how the behavior and engagement is changing. This is important to use those tools to see how things are changing based on the content. And why not? I would like to mention this community engagement platform tool, which is Patreon. And some artists can build through this like a supportive fan base when they are trying to also monetize their work, right? So it's very popular nowadays that Patreon is used to support the artists. And this helps them to bring their audience all together and start supporting the artist to create something unique, specific, and uh, of course, I would like to mention also a resource or a tool regarding to the live streams and videos. Artists can use TikTok, Instagram Reels, or YouTube through YouTube Shorts for dynamic or short form content, which can enhance visibility. As we know, it's very popular to speak about this that our life is so fast that we do not have much time to watch long videos. So short videos can be created, short content can be created through TikTok, Instagram Reels, or through YouTube Shorts. This is also important to know. And if an artist is interested in collaborative platforms or resources, I would definitely mention a Discord platform. This is a really nice platform to start collaboration on specific topics, or why not to engage with like-minded creators. Of course, there are so many resources and tools, and most likely it would be nice if I will share some of them with you and you can use them as a comment on the podcast, and people just will use this.
Yeah, that would be really useful, I believe, for our audience. And I am also curious about the strategies for balancing time spent on creating art versus promoting on social media. If you have any opinion in this matter.
Um, what I would say is that you never should forget about the importance to promote your artistic work on social media. Of course, the main thing for the artist is to be creative, to create the art, but the balance should be kept in a strategic way as it is near to a person. For example, if a person spends more time, like I will bring one of my colleagues, good friend, who is a painter. She likes to create during the nights, yeah, very late nights. And we were having a discussion. Okay, if you are creative during the night when most of the people are sleeping, that's a really good balance, because during the daytime when people are scrolling, or during the evenings when you are not that active in creating, you can start posting on social media. But this is kind of a unique example, because my friend, as I said, he likes to create the art during the night, late at night, then people are mostly sleeping, right? I remember the style of one of the authors, like this award-winning author or bestseller author, Dan Brown, who is popular because of Code Da Vinci and other books. Uh, I was reading his interviews, and I found out that the person likes to be creative very early in the mornings. So he's like this person of Club 5. I mean, people who are getting up at 5 a.m. called Club 5, and he starts creating between 6 to 8 a.m. So during the time when many people are either sleeping or going to their work, yeah. So this is another example which I would like to share. So they are different strategies to keep the balance, and this really depends on an artist. If an artist is having really troublesome regarding to keeping this balance, it's important to be focused on something for one day and on another thing on the other day. Yeah, so this is also an opportunity, a strategy that can keep this balance of the time spent on either creating an art or promoting this on social media. So this is very personal, and I have already shared different examples, and some artists can use these or they can just try to find their own.
Since we are talking about the practical tips, I still have a question on my mind that is related to misinformation, and it's that what strategies do you recommend for artists to identify and combat misinformation or misrepresentation about their work online?
Here, the best strategy is to be less emotional. So if an artist finds something which is, bringing a trigger on an emotional side, just try not to react as soon as possible. No, this is not the best way to react. Keep a bit the hitting moment to become calm and then to react. And when it comes to identifying and trying to combat misinformation, it's exactly in the same way. If you find something that it seems to you as an artist like a piece of misinformation, wait, you can use some basics of how to find if information is true or false. You can check through searching engines, as it is used to say, just Google it. If you find on Google it's not yet true information, because we can also post many things and these searching engines can bring this based on the search result. So you just need to also try to find other sources. As I said in the beginning, I have background in media making. I worked and I still work as a journalist, and we have this rule not to spread any kind of misinformation. You need to verify information at least from two sources, and it would be good if those sources are not connected to each other. So if you find something and there is only one source about this, there is high chance that it is not true. So if you would like to verify it, try to find the second independent source, and then after that you can share, use, or present this. And when it comes to misrepresentation about the artistic work online, unfortunately, this is happening. Many artists are even uh, trying to avoid to post their original pieces of arts online because some other people can steal and show. Uh, this is happening even with personalities, like common people. They do this catfishing. It is called, like, when they are kind of stealing the identity of another person. So here I would suggest be aware of those kind of things and try to react without emotions, with a calm way and with uh, mindfulness. These are my strategies.
Thank you. And since we are coming to the end of the podcast, looking ahead, how do you see social media and media readership evolving for artists?
I think it will be more interactive, and niche focused platforms will become more popular. Also, the audience will increasingly value the authenticity of the content. Of course, this will allow I think, to connect the audience to the artist in a personal way. What I see, what becomes popular during a couple of years already, short form video formats will continue to bring more attention, and platforms like TikTok or Instagram Reels will take much time of ours when we are getting up or when we are going to sleep. Uh, I sometimes find myself even watching some reels or TikTok videos. So it's important to be aware about this. And if you are an artist, better if you can create in this format, because somehow, especially on TikTok, the algorithms are working in a way that you never know how your video can become viral, and then you will get thousands, if not millions of followers just because of one small thing. And what I would like to say that it's important to keep the storytelling or the development of a storyline as quick as possible. As I said early, people are running, everything is becoming faster and faster. And if your storytelling is not that quick, then there is less potential than if it is a quick development of the storyline. But also, I would like to mention about these artificial intelligence tools and the algorithms, which are now shaping content discovery. They are favoring creators who try to balance the regular engaging post with some adaptability to the platform trends. Like there are many social media campaigns which are fully based on these artificial intelligence tools. Like during uh, last couple of months, especially during the summer, it was really viral to see the cat who is going to a gym with the meow meow sound and many other things. And all those things were based on the artificial intelligence tools. Creators were using this, and I do see that this is involving for artists. Yeah. Uh, However, I still think that exclusivity is important, and it will stay important in coming years as well. So if you have uniqueness, keep it.
I have to admit that I feel overwhelmed by the digital world, and maybe I would like to ask you for an advice that you would give to the artists who may feel the same overwhelmed by the digital world.
Like you can also be overwhelmed with nice food if you are traveling to nice countries and always you are eating really nice food. So it's always good to have so-called fasting days. And it would be nice if an artist or a person can have those fasting days from social media, like detoxing yourself for a while, keeping your phone or social media accounts away from yourself. Of course, there could be a feeling of FOMO that you are missing something, but it's okay. As soon as an artist, a person can understand that it's fine not to be online always, and it's fine not to follow everything or consume or make the others to consume everything, this will help you to keep the nice balance and not to feel this overwhelmed by the digital. So make a detox from time to time. It would be really good if you can, as an artist, to establish a nice timetable for a week, and at least one day in a week keep this detoxing from social media, like Sunday. Why not? Use Sunday for family time, creative time. Uh, do your art, go for your performances, have a nice walk, go to the nature, and this can help. This can help. I found myself really hard to to do this in the beginning. In the beginning, it would be really hard, but then you are starting. as everything, the start is the hardest moment, then you will make it regular and it will help you to keep your life balanced and not to have this feeling of being overwhelmed.
Thank you very much. I have to say, I am very thankful that we got this chance to talk about the topics and things that we couldn't reveal during the workshop week due to limited time. So it was very interesting and useful to me, and I believe that to our audience as well. Thank you so much for your presence, and I'm looking forward to our future projects and collaborations.
Thank you, Diana, for having me, and it was really nice to talk with you and share all my knowledge, thoughts, tips for the artists.
Thank you for listening. The Professional Media Presence project is co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. Make sure to follow the updates on our social media, Instagram and Facebook, and visit our website pmpproject.eu. Stay tuned for more episodes.